Official. It's a complete library of all Marc Lamont Hill media. That means that it's authentic, it's diverse, and it's dedicated to truth and justice. You can also tune in as I host my original nightly show, Night School. We're here every single night, Monday to Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern.
This channel right here is so important for people to get the geopolitical education, the varying of the topics and the subjects here.
It's a global classroom where we talk about the hottest things going on in politics, pop culture, and academia.
I've never seen a greater fumble, and it's never being talked about like that. But if there was one person who needed to sue their fucking lawyers for ruining their career, it's Jonathan Majors.
Break down and cry.
Doom, doom, doom. You know, tell me about what was going on around there, because you don't just sing it like your face. I was like,
hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, boy. We have a lot of fun on my Office Hours show, which is an original program that comes on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. I sit down with the most brilliant, compelling, and controversial thinkers in the world. We have original podcasts, Coffee and Books.
As long as we offload both the tensions and the responsibility of racism onto people of color, we're going to protect the status quo.
And The Classroom and the Cell with political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Acting like, you're an uppity Negro. Yeah, that was a capital offense, bro. No amount of money can ever repay black people for what they've suffered here in the West.
New podcast episodes drop every Saturday and Sunday. But that's not all. You can find my debates, win, lose, or draw. The only way you get $1 billion is through large amounts of economic exploitation. You don't get billions of dollars unless people die.
See, I fundamentally disagree with that.
Clarifying question. Does Israel have a constitution? Yes or no? I'm just curious.
You're being funny?
Yes or no? Does Israel have a constitution? We all know I won that debate, though. You can also find a collection of my interviews from other platforms like The Griot.
If I had an opportunity to have my father back, would I take him back? And I told people, you know what? I would have my life exactly like it was.
Al Jazeera.
So now my next challenge is, okay, so how do you render a judgment on the Nat Turner Rebellion?
And many others.
They could have said to me, well, we should do it this way. No, they couldn't get me if they had said that.
Right.
They had to tell me, I'm gonna let you build the biggest bread company
right.
you want to build.
Did you get there? So head over to youtube.com/@Marc Lamont Hill Official and make sure you watch, like, share, and subscribe. As always, thank you so much for your support, and I hope to see you there. Peace. Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome to the War on Gaza report. I think y'all just got the wrong update, the wrong little promo. Let me do it properly. Again, I'm rocking solo. Check this out. I think that's better. There we go. The War on Gaza report is something we take very seriously here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, because there is an ongoing genocidal war in the Gaza Strip that we absolutely must pay attention to, and particularly here in the United States, where we are complicit in the actions of the Israeli government because we fund it, we supply it, and we sanction it. Because of that, it's important for us to keep track of every single thing that happens right here in the United States, but also what's happening in the Gaza Strip since October 7th. And it's been almost a year now. Israel's war on Gaza has reached day 334. 334. We are literally only about a month and a few days away from a 1-year anniversary of a horrific, indefensible, unrelenting war on the Palestinian people. And every day that happens, we got to cover it. Every day that we're able to, we do cover it. But it's not just about me. It's not just about you watching. It's about the global community, not just documenting the truth, but also responding to it, holding people accountable, applying pressure. We can do that. We must do that. But before we can apply the pressure, we must have the facts. We must have the information. We must have the evidence. And that's what we do here every single night in the War on Gaza Report. And I begin, as we always do, with the numbers. As of today, at least 40,861 people have been killed in Gaza. Again, at least 40,861 people have been killed in Gaza. In addition to that, 94,398 people have been injured in Gaza. Those numbers are not exaggerations. They're not hyperbole. To the contrary, they're quite conservative. The Gaza Health Ministry has historically been quite conservative in its assessments. You add to that the fact that there are tens of thousands of people, potentially, definitely more than 10,000 people who lay under the rubble. And you add to that reports like the Lancet study, which show that the number of people who are incidentally killed by war can be 3 times the raw number of casualties. When you look at numbers in that context, we understand just how gross, just how gruesome, just how brutal this genocidal war has been on the Palestinian people. Tonight, there's some updates, some important updates. I think the most important update is really breaking news right now. If you're watching right now, this is breaking news, whether you're here in the United States or wherever you are, it's breaking. According to my colleagues at Al Jazeera Arabic, where I do not work, an Israeli attack has occurred on tents that are housing displaced people near Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. If you don't know Al-Aqsa Hospital, not to be confused with Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital is in central Gaza. And there's been an attack on the tents where people are living because they've been displaced. At least 4 people have been killed. Now, we're also getting reports from Al-Wafa, the news agency, that the victims include women and children. We also have more updates on the Israeli attack on Al-Mawasi, which the military had previously designated as a, quote, humanitarian zone. According to Wafa, at least 1 person was killed and 10 others were wounded in the attack. I'm sure there will be more developments as the day continues. And when I say the day continues, because it's 6 a.m. in Gaza right now, 6 a.m. throughout Palestine. And so we'll get more updates as the officials let us know. Another thing happening in Gaza is that Amnesty International has issued a report on Israel's destruction of Gaza. According to Amnesty International, Israel's military has committed a war crime, and the crime is specifically wanton destruction and collective punishment. As you know, there are rules to war, and you can't just destroy things. You also can't punish an entire people for the actions of some. We, of course, see that that's exactly what's happening, but specifically with regard to wanton destruction, there's a buffer zone that's been created around the Gaza Strip's eastern perimeter, that border with Israel. And they've been bulldozing and blowing up homes and farms across the area. And when you ask anyone, one, that's wanton destruction. But second, if you say, well, why are you blowing up people's homes? Why are you tearing up farms? They'll say, well, you can never be too careful. Or as long as Hamas is out, we're going to have to just do everything. Either way, you're effectively saying that the Palestinian people are going to be punished for the actions of Hamas. This buffer zone covers about 58 square kilometers, which is 16% of the Gaza Strip, give or take. It's about 22 square miles. This is not a small thing. This is not a small thing. As of this past May 2024, satellite imagery shows that more than 90% of the buildings within the area, that's about 3,500 edifices, 3,500 structures, they've been destroyed or at least severely damaged. Now, in 4 locations that Amnesty's looked into, the destruction was carried out after the Israeli military took control of the area. That means that there wasn't a theater going on. There was no combat back and forth. This wasn't like two people fighting, there's incidental damage. That would be understandable. It wouldn't be understandable, but at least we can make sense of it. It certainly would be a defensible argument against war crimes. But that ain't what happened. That ain't what happened. It was after the Israeli military took over. That means that there was a campaign of demolition. In one incident, according to Al Jazeera, in the town of Gaza, sorry, the burp isn't helping, but it's called Gaza. Thank you. In the town of Gaza, which is in southern Gaza, Israeli forces destroyed at least 30 homes at the end of December after launching an operation called Az and Nir in the area. We saw videos posted by an Israeli soldier showing troops smiling, laughing, posing for the camera, smoking shisha pipes, toasting drinks. I mean, they were literally having a party as Palestinian buildings, Palestinian homes, Palestinian lives were crumbling in the background. This is what Amnesty is accusing them of, and it doesn't seem to be disputed right now. So, and there's plenty of evidence to support it. So that is what it is. Another thing that I want to talk to you all about before we go is the fact that Palestinians in the West Bank are experiencing extraordinarily repressive conditions. A lot of people are talking about Gaza as they should be, but you can never separate Gaza from the West Bank, from East Jerusalem, from Israel, from the diaspora in very real and fundamental ways. And since October 7th, the intensity of the Israeli occupation has grown. I'm not just talking about the effective occupation of the Gaza Strip. I'm not just talking about the repression experienced in East Jerusalem. Excuse me, y'all. I'm talking about in the West Bank proper. According to Palestinian officials, 4,000 residents, I want you to think about that number, 4,000 residents have been forced to leave their homes at gunpoint in East Jenin. And according to the United Nations, Israeli forces are using, quote, warlike tactics against civilians, not just in Jenin, but throughout the West Bank. According to, again, the Wafa news agency, which is, by the way, this military operation in Jenin is in week 2. And according to Wafa, the Israeli military sent an additional group of troops to the city and the refugee camp of Jenin. And this is something you have to understand when we talk about the West Bank. There are many cities, many areas that have both a city and a refugee camp of the same name, whether it's Jenin or whether it's Tul Kerem. You'll see Tul Kerem Mukhayyim, Tul Kerem Medina. They're different, but they're connected. And so the soldiers have forcibly displaced Palestinian families in the city's El Jabariyat neighborhood and also torched a house in the refugee camp. They also bulldozed the Nazareth street north of Jenin, which connects cities to the villages nearby. So we're seeing extraordinary destruction. As of now, when you look at what the Israeli military has done in the northern part of the West Bank, this isn't a small thing. This isn't like the settler raids, which are awful and indefensible, but these aren't like the settler raids we see all the time. These aren't like the coordinated invasions of cities like Ramallah, even cities that are supposed to be Area A. Oftentimes, we have collaborators who let them in, whatever. But the point is, you may see a raid, you may see an attack. But what we've seen right now in the West Bank is the worst we've seen in decades. This is not a small operation. This is a large-scale Israeli military mission. 37 Palestinians have been killed just in these raids alone, which have targeted, as I mentioned to you, Tul Kerem, also Tubas. And so when you look at cities like Tubas, Jenin, Tul Kerem, you're going to find large amounts of repression that can only be explained or defended through transparent pretexts. So please understand that while we send our undying solidarity to Palestinians in Gaza, we cannot ignore what's going on in the West Bank. We cannot ignore what's going on in 48 either. We can't ignore what's going on in Israel either. We can't ignore what's happening in East Jerusalem. All of it matters. All of it matters. Before we go, there's another thing I wanted to say to you all, and that is the bombardment of Gaza today. Just in the last 12 hours, or maybe closer to maybe 24 hours now, has killed another 18 Palestinians. The bombing campaigns have not stopped. 18 more. 18 more. And sadly, that's not a huge day. It's a slow day in a lot of ways, which is tragic. And Hamas says that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is thwarting a ceasefire deal by refusing to withdraw forces from Gaza's Philadelphia corridor, which is true. And we talked about it on Night School tonight. Netanyahu is going to keep coming up with reasons to not end this war. He's going to continue to come up with reasons to not return hostages. He's going to continue to come up with reasons to not create peace because he is a wartime prime minister. Because if he's not a wartime prime minister, he's a peacetime criminal conviction. He don't want that. So he's going to keep a doctrine of permanent war. And so the Philadelphia corridor is just the latest pretext that Netanyahu is presenting to justify the unjustifiable, which is a 1-year unrelenting war on the Palestinian people, even at the expense of his own countrymen and women. That's sad, but that's how he rolls. Anyway, y'all, I want to thank you all for watching the War on Gaza report. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, even though the issues and topics we're talking about are quite unpleasurable, quite sad. I want to thank you all for watching the channel. I want to encourage you all to keep watching the channel, watch all the content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button. If you like the War on Gaza report, the way to keep it going is to help us fund it. So any amount you could do would be great. If you do the monthly membership, a bronze membership, $3.99 a month would be amazing. I'd like you all to consider continuing also with the tuition payments. If you just come for night school, cool, but some of y'all come for the War on Gaza report as well. Some of y'all only come for the War on Gaza report. And the way to keep that report going, once again, is through your economic support. Please consider going to Cash App right now, PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, and dropping something in. No amount is too small. If you gave in for night school, I understand. I ain't asking you to give again. But if you didn't give at night school or you don't watch night school, think about dropping something in the War on Gaza report donation bin. $1 is fine. $1 million is even better. Anything in the middle is sweet. We'll take all of it. We'll take any of it. No amount is too small. No amount is too large. We just need a collective cooperative economics so that we can create the outcomes we want, which is independent, radical, grassroots, Black, internationalist media. That's the goal, and that's what we're going to do. I'll see y'all later. Peace.